Hey,
Hey, Luke. Luke, can you hear me?
yeah, can you hear me?
I can. No camera yet, but I can hear you.
All right, let me get that up. Uh, all right.
There you
Hey,
go. Gotcha.
yep. All right.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Happy after Thanksgiving. Hopefully you had a nice break with the family.
Yep. Hopefully, I did. Hopefully you did too.
That's great. That's great. When did you get back? Are you back on campus or are you off campus?
Oh, I just got back on campus. So,
Excellent. That's great. Where do you go to school? You go to Clemson, right?
Clemson, yes.
That's great. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Um,
terrific.
yeah. Well, thanks for meeting with me. This is just a thing for school. I have to like interview someone in the
That's
business
great.
world.
Happy to do that for you. When you say you have to interview somebody, is this for a career services thing or is this tied to a specific class? What do you got?
Yeah, it's kind of for a career services thing, like just a intro to business class. They wanted me to, talk to someone in the business world and, um, ask some questions about, what your job's like and what you do,
Okay,
everything like that.
that's great. Happy to do it for you, Luke. Are you exploring a business major or are you already declared or are you still in that early phase?
Um, yeah, right now, or I guess for this semester, I was still in pre-business classes, but starting next semester, I'll be in finance will be my major. So
Oh, you've declared. Are you going to you're going to declare?
yeah,
Excellent. Well, I can help you a little bit on that journey as well, Luke, because I our son Nick is a he was a finance major, and he works in New York City on a big actually mid-sized investment bank
mhm.
doing some things. So I know a bit about the industry. I know a bit about his background and his journey, and I can give you a real life example of what that's like if it's helpful.
All
And
right,
then of
yeah,
course I've got some knowledge too from my past.
yeah, that's great. I guess what I want to start with is like what yeah, like your job position or like what you've done in terms of.
Yeah, happy to do that. I've had a long career. You can tell by the gray hair. I've been at it for a while. In college, I was a business major. In college, I went to Bowling Green State University in Bowling Green, Ohio.
Mhm.
And you probably know that from my sister Wendy, a little bit of background there as well. Um, I had a 30 plus year career in business.
Mhm.
Um, worked for some pretty big companies. And then over the last, since August, I actually moved to academia. I'm now a professor in college.
Mhm.
So I went all the way through a long business career, and now I've moved over to academia to teach business now. That's what I do.
And what was your major? Was it a management major?
Yeah, I was a Bachelor of Science with Business Administration
Mhm.
with a concentration in marketing.
Oh, Mark. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so
And what were all the companies that you worked at, like over your career?
yeah, I've worked for several. I'll give you just the big ones, and the ones that I had the longest in my career. I started out of college working in sales for Procter and Gamble, P&G, and I worked for Procter and Gamble for 12 or 13 years. And I'd be happy to do a LinkedIn with you, by the way, if it helps you with my background.
Oh
Send
yeah.
me a LinkedIn request, Luke, and I'll you can see my background from there too if it helps you
Mhm.
for any reason. And also you can see my network also.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so do that when we follow up. You can send me a LinkedIn request. I'd be happy to do that with you.
All right.
If you do you have a LinkedIn profile yet, or have you made one yet?
No, I need to set one up though. Yeah.
Oh, you definitely got to get one for
Yeah.
sure. If
Mhm.
you're going to be in the business world, you have to get going. Are you first year or second year student?
Oh, I'm a sophomore, so second year.
Okay, second year. Okay, yep, it's time. Got to get your mugshot taken or picture taken. Got to get some stuff down and get a network. If you're not ready to send me a LinkedIn request, maybe by early next week you can get one up and running. How's
Yeah.
that sound? Yeah,
Mhm.
so I worked with Procter and Gamble out of college. Then I went to work in the internet space as an internet retailer for a couple of years. And then I joined a company called Novartis, Novartis. Novartis, when I was there, I became the vice president of their Walmart customer team based in Arkansas. My customer was Walmart's global headquarters based in Arkansas. So I've always been my whole career in selling and sales management and channel management has been my full background and always selling brands to retailers. and the retailers are Walmart, Target, and others. I was actually at Novartis for a long time, well, six years or so. And then I joined Coty Beauty. Coty is a large fragrance and cosmetics company. I climbed to the senior vice president of sales role there, based in Manhattan. So moved from Arkansas to New York City, and I ran the U.S. Sales organization for Coty. So it was an organization of about 300 people, about $1 billion in revenue was my responsibility.
Hmm.
And I had all retailers in the United States were part of my responsibility. So retailers like Dollar General and Family Dollar, Walmart, Target, Walgreens, and CVS, all the way up to Nordstrom and Dillard's and Sephora, all in the beauty category, were all part of my responsibility. And then I left Coty and I joined Samsung. I was the senior vice president of customer development for Samsung. So I sold, working with retailers like Best Buy, Costco, Amazon, and others. And then I left there and most recently was at Bose Corporation, Bose as the global head of sales for all channels in all markets except China. So I had a global responsibility, traveled the world, called on retailers that were my customers from Australia to Japan to Latin America to Europe and even Dubai and other parts of the world. So I've had a long career, a long successful career of growing my career, not only horizontally, but vertically to become the global head of sales for Bose. And I was on the executive committee and the executive team reporting to the chief operating officer of the company in my last role. And then after all that, I decided to leave that and move to academia. So now I'm a full-time professor at Skidmore College in upstate New York in Saratoga Springs. And I've got teaching selling and sales management and also kind of like a business 101 for first and second year students. So I got 2 classes I'm teaching.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot of experience. That's really impressive. I guess building on that, I would say like, what do you find was really important in like working your way up in these companies? Like, what did they value that you did, or what did you do to like, move your way up?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, a couple of things work really well. First of all, I'm a big believer in building brands and using my marketing expertise to help brands become healthy and growing with retailers. So I became world class at using consumer insights and what they call shopper insights to help brands work with big retailers like Walmart or Target or Amazon or Best Buy and help the brands really flourish inside of those retailers' environment. So I became a professional at working with the buyers, marketers, supply chain, and finance people at the headquarters of those retailers.
Mm,
That's what my role was. And then I learned how to coach and teach others on how to do that. That's why I moved up my ability to lead and be a leader of an organization because I knew how to take an organization and grow it and build talent and grow talent and recruit talent to an organization.
mm,
So growing the business and growing the people are things that I think I'm world class at.
So how much would you say that like your education in college or the degrees you have and all of that like
Hmm?
enabled you to do this in your career? Like, would you say a lot of it was like learned on the job, or you think
Yeah,
a lot of
I'll
yeah.
give you the secret sauce for this is just to outwork everybody.
Mm,
When I say outwork them, being a student of business, always learning, always being current, listening and learning from others. And you've heard of Charles Darwin, right? What does Charles Darwin say?
survival of the fittest.
Survival of the fittest, but it's actually that's a misnomer. It's actually the most adaptable survive.
Mm,
And I've learned to adapt. And my
yeah.
family's adapted with me. So I became a very adaptable leader, being able to be relocated. I've moved my family 13 times in the last 30 years.
Mm,
And so we were flexible and adaptable and smart and outworked everybody. And then the
mm,
final one for me is I really like working with people. And from a business context, that was what really helped me. Now, from a college standpoint, I was a B student,
mm,
B, B minus, B minus student. I wasn't the smartest, and when I say smartest, book smart. But what I did do on campus is I made sure that I was involved. So
mm,
I was on the swim team. I was a freshman swimmer. I left that after my freshman year. I then joined a fraternity where I rose to a vice president and second in charge of a 120 person fraternity, and I learned how to lead other other fraternity brothers that are not getting paid to do work on behalf of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And then beyond that, I joined the Selling and Sales Management Club and the American Marketing Association on campus. So I was involved with business like interests that I had on campus, which was a big help because that gave me the opening or the door opening to get into the interview process with the Procter and Gamble. And
Mm.
then during the summers, I had a really great job. I worked at SeaWorld in Ohio, and I rose to level from an hourly wage, worker to a lead of my area to a park supervisor.
Mm.
And so in all my career, I've had a long track record of learning how to work with people and taking risks and trying to become a leader that makes sense to people and showing that within my college activities. So I'd encourage anybody to think about ways to round out your collegiate resume with collaboration skill, leadership skill, communication skill, and make up for in my case, lack of book smarts
Mm.
with great people smarts. And
Yeah.
that's something for me that I became really good at.
Yeah. So like, I guess being involved in college, did you do any internships or like anything like that while you're in
I did
college?
not have an official internship because I was working at SeaWorld, which was a
Mm-hmm.
business environment. I became a park
Yeah.
supervisor. So for me, I could have I could have stepped outside that in the summer, but because I was climbing the ladder at SeaWorld and they actually gave me a job offer after college, I didn't take that one. I took the Procter and Gamble one.
Mm-hmm.
But because I was climbing the ladder, I didn't really have an official internship like is really expected today from a lot of college students.
Yeah. I guess going back to college, like I would ask if you could go back to college, would you still get the same major in the same thing you
For
majored in?
sure.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure. Now I would have done some things a little bit differently in terms of taking advantage of the free things on campus to get even more involved.
Mm.
And I'll tell you that Luke, it shows up if you're involved and if you're listening and if you're part of groups that are trying to make a difference on campus, it
Mm-hmm.
shows up in the interview process. It shows up on your resume. It shows up in how you go to do stuff. So I'd encourage you as you're thinking about this finance major and getting involved with that to get involved with the finance clubs on campus, the investment clubs on campus, the marketing club on campus, American Marketing Association, and get involved in them. Even if you're not an officer, at least be involved and know what they're doing, and being part of that community will help you from a couple standpoints. One, it'll help you know the language a little bit, be involved in the kind of what's going on in that part of the world. And it will help you with connections when people graduate or for internships. Because people that are in those clubs are looking for people who graduate from Clemson with those clubs on their backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
They look for that.
Yeah. I yeah, I guess getting involved is definitely like something I want to do more of. But I did like I spent a lot of time like thinking about what I want my major to be because I knew I wanted to do something in business when I was like because I started off in mechanical engineering. Well, I wanted to
Ah,
like switch
okay.
up. I was like I was wondering like what would set me up to be the most successful or like what gives me the most skills that I would need to like succeed in the future. I was looking at all the majors. I don't know. I liked finance. I like how to look. But, like, would you say there's any in terms of like the major you choose or like the skills you learn, like is there any limitations for any of those, or is a lot of like what you do in the future in your job dictated by like what you pick up on the job or like the skills that you learn afterwards?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think you learn quite a bit in college. In the finance community in particular, you're going to learn as you take finance classes and accounting classes, you're going to learn a whole bunch about analysis, how to do reporting, how to create insights, how to create and drive decision making, financial decision making. And those are things that require you to be really great in class and really great at these involvement in these groups. And then what does help is actually to get certified
Yeah.
coming out of college or in colleges. So whether you want to go down and even think about getting a CPA
Mhm.
or a CFA, which is the finance version of that, you should study both. My son, his name is Nick. After college, he studied for the CPA and got a CPA. And he had an internship working for PricewaterhouseCoopers in Boston. So his junior year, he got a junior to senior year. His junior year, he got an internship at PwC. And then that next year after he graduated, he got his CPA after college graduation. And then he took two of the three and passed two of the three CFA exams too. So he's been committed to that. And that's something as you look forward, Luke, you have to make that decision too, because it's very competitive out there. If you want to become great in the finance community,
Mm-hmm.
having a CFA or CPA or at least an advanced degree in finance is going to really help your cause.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I asked that because, like, you know, you're someone like your career is like, obviously I'm like you worked a lot in like upper management, like high level
Yeah.
stuff. I think that's basically where everyone wants to get to. So like,
Yep.
I was wondering like what's the, like best way to get there? And
Yeah.
obviously like working hard.
Yeah, for me, it was I took my first job out of college, which was Procter and Gamble,
Mhm,
and I made the decision I was going to be the very best that I could be, better than anybody else, and I worked hard. And when I say better, I was in what was called the selling or customer development organization at Procter and Gamble. And I decided I was going to be the very best. And I worked hard at it. I worked on how to be a better presenter, for example. I worked hard at being better at data analytics. I worked hard at trying to understand consumer behavior and shopper behavior so that I could talk about how brands are built and how brands grow. And I worked at how to be just a great leader with people because it's what's required if you're going to get advanced in your career is to have those kinds of skill set. And leadership means excellent listening skills, excellent collaboration skills, and communication skills. But those things I learned, Luke. I wasn't born with those. Those are things that
yeah,
you learn over time, and you can learn while you're in college to figure that out. The tricky part is depending on your career choice. So in finance, you could take that if you wanted to and be the CFO at pick a brand. What's your favorite brand right now? If I asked you what's your favorite brand, apparel, electronics, what is it, or automotive? What's your favorite brand?
yeah. Favorite brand? I don't know, like Nike or something, Adidas,
Okay,
one of those
Nike.
kind. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to be the CFO of Nike someday, chief financial officer, go off and literally go to LinkedIn and look at that CFO's background from Nike. You can go to
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn and see his background. And you'll see where he went to college, or he or she, and what kind of degree they've gotten and what kind of a set of experiences they got horizontally. When I say horizontally, meaning they didn't get a promotion up. It didn't mean they went from director to VP. They may have been director, senior director, and then a senior director. You see kind of a horizontal move. And that's when they got a broadening experience to make them even smarter across several areas.
Yeah.
So those are things you look at in your career and say, would I like to do that?
Mm. And speaking of like moving up, I guess, would you say like a lot of your you mentioned you switched companies a lot, you worked at a bunch
Yep.
of places, but would you say a lot of your moves up or advancements in your career came when you were like changing companies? Like, or do you think you moved up a lot in like
I
the
think
same?
at Procter and Gamble, so if I started at Procter and Gamble, I might be a vice president of a particular region of the US. I would never have gotten to be the global head of sales of Bose Corporation with global responsibilities if I wasn't interested in being moving through other experiences. And so I think leaving a company, sometimes by knowing your position and how long you're going to be in place and how much of a growth trajectory a company has, whether you're going to move up or not. And so I sensed in all of my moves being the most adaptable and the smartest that I could be meant that being flexible to move to another company would be part of my trajectory.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to think if I have anything else to ask, but I think you covered a lot of it.
Can I ask you a few
Yeah.
questions while we're
Yeah.
thinking here? We'll have a conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what got you excited about finance?
I mean, when I was looking at the degrees that I could um major in, like the business world, I was looking at them. I thought that was like a pretty useful or like versatile one.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know, the way my mind works is fairly like analytical in the first place. Like I'm really good with numbers. Like a lot of that stuff just really clicks for me. More so than maybe something like management, which is something that, like is a little more challenging for me. Like it doesn't make
Hmm.
as much sense. But something like finance, I don't know, it makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
And I just thought like in the business world it'd be a pretty useful degree to have, like
Hmm.
in terms of the skills that I could gain from it.
Hmm. Perfect.
Yeah.
Anything else got you excited about it?
Um, I don't know. Like
Anything has you nervous about it?
nothing that really has me nervous. Coming from engineering, it's like I don't know. I was a little nervous about engineering just because everything in that was so hard. And, like it's a ton of work. Like this is slightly more relaxed for me. It
Yep.
comes pretty naturally. So I don't know if there's
Have you,
anything that really worries me about it.
have you started taking any accounting or finance classes yet?
Yeah, I'm in a intro to like, or I guess an introductory accounting class right now.
Yeah.
Um, and like that's probably my most challenging class, but it's still nothing bad. Like it's
Okay.
definitely manageable. The other class, like I like economics. I like the
Sure.
econ class I've had. I've enjoyed. I was
Sure.
really on the fence between that and finance in terms of things I'd want to major in.
That's great. Have you thought about getting a minor in economics?
Yes, that's something I'll probably do. I already with the like finance majors at Clemson, there's already a accounting minor like baked in.
Oh, good.
I was thinking about adding an economics minor as well.
That's great. That's great. But with your analytical approach and your comfort with numbers, certainly finance and accounting makes sense for sure. What's tricky in today's environment around finance and accounting is how much artificial intelligence is accelerating in
Mhm.
that particular space. Have you gotten any experience yet with AI?
Nothing outside of like Chat GPT or like the basics of AI, but I don't have too much experience with it. I would say.
Yeah, one of the things you can think about is in the finance club that you might be thinking about, or the accounting club, whichever direction you go, is becoming expert in that space.
Yeah. Hmm.
So if you think about it, you can sit back and be passive on that, Luke, and just learn from others, which is appropriate to learn from others. At some point, if you get really excited about it, you learn from following to now leading. So
Hmm.
imagine if you walked into whatever finance club or accounting club and you had created and led how Clemson adapted to the artificial intelligence in the finance space and how Clemson led the club is leading how in the accounting space, how AI is integrated in the accounting space. And that
Yeah.
you as a team member on campus got that excited and that interested that you took this massive trend and not only responded to it, but led it somehow.
Hmm.
Think about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's
If
definitely something that's good to be like ahead of, on the
Yeah,
front end of it. Here, sorry, one second. I have to plug in my computer. Excuse
yeah, go ahead.
me. Right. Yeah, I definitely there's something about like AI. Like I definitely think getting ahead of that is like, or I guess learning how to use it with something like finance.
Yeah, I think if you have you thought about how you might self-teach yourself or self-learn how to use AI in a finance environment?
Um, how I mean, I feel like there's probably so much information out there already on the internet. Really if that's something I really want to go out and find, like I think you know like finding stuff out there online about how to use it on top of just like having experience.
Yeah,
It's the more you interact with it and use it, the better you can learn like what
I-
it's capable of and how it can help make things more efficient.
exactly. I think you have to blend a little bit of kind of the classic learning you're going to get in class, whatever finance and accounting class you're taking,
Yeah.
and learn that, because there's some fundamental concepts that you have to learn, but then blending that with some advanced AI learning that you self-teach yourself
Mhm.
will make you stand out in any interview or any internship that you're going for, Luke.
Yeah.
And that's what you're gonna have to do. If you think about what you'd want to do is create your own resume, your own, because you know what a resume you haven't built a resume yet. So as you build a resume, or do you have one yet?
I don't have one yet, but that's
All right.
another thing.
So picture in your mind a resume and go through and read about resumes, and even go to the career services group and ask them to co-develop a resume with you.
Hmm.
And as you come away from that, imagine graduating from Clemson in 2 more years, or 2.5 more years,
Hmm.
right? 2.5 more, because you're halfway through your
Yep.
second year.
Yeah.
And picture in your mind, what do you want your resume to say about you? And do that this week, Luke.
Yep.
Don't wait before the semester gets to be, well, I know you got exams this week and some other stuff. So maybe over the holiday break, Christmas break,
Hmm.
literally write down what you think you'd like to have on your resume when you graduate. What would make you really stand out, Luke, among all finance graduates that May 2.5 years from now?
Hmm.
You have to do this, Luke. I wish I would have spent more time on this. Mine kind of came by accident. I did a bunch of really good things and I got involved and I was able to kind of write it all down, but I didn't take the time to map out what I really wanted it to say when I graduated about me. And I wish I would have.
Yeah.
And so for you, I would really encourage you to picture when you graduate at the end of that last semester, what clubs are you involved in? What kind of learning have you taken in from a finance and accounting standpoint? What kind of internships would you have liked to have had, at least one, if not two? What are you doing to get involved with other things on campus to expand your capability and knowledge? And then how do you get after things like artificial intelligence and the leading edge of that 2.5 years from now? And if you write that down, just and even literally write it down and stick it in your folder or stick it in your computer screen and pull it back up, and ask yourself, are you on that journey to get there? Are you really getting the internship? Have you really learned what you want to learn? Have you really gotten involved in the clubs you want to get involved in that add to your resume? Because here's what's going to happen when you graduate. You're going to be racing to the end, and you're going to hope that somebody's got a role for you, a job somewhere.
Yep.
Maybe it's in a cool place like Charlotte or Atlanta, or where else would you like to live, Luke? When you graduate Clemson, where do you want to live?
I mean, I'd like to be in the South, you know. I
All
really
right.
don't. Yeah.
All right. So Charlotte or Raleigh or Atlanta or Nashville or another cool city that's there where there's a lot of young people doing cool stuff. And you got to make sure you're saying, and I want to be the best at this, where I'm the most upside and lowest risk to any
Mm.
hiring organization.
Yeah. I
And
guess.
think about that.
Yeah. I guess that comes from like knowing, like knowing at least broadly like what I want to do in the future, and like basically tailoring what I want my resume to be around that, or like I don't
Exactly. Picture that clearly in your mind.
know.
What do you want that thing to say about you?
Mm. Yeah, because like I'm not entirely sure like what I would want to do job wise in the future, but like I guess I could
That's
stick.
okay. Just collect the right experiences.
Yeah.
You can eventually apply to a number of different roles. And when I think what's going to eventually happen, you're going to have a base resume, a resume that's it's got all this stuff in it,
Mhm.
and all that stuff's going to be your all the clubs you're in, hopefully, all the how great your grades are, how you've gotten involved on campus, what you do off campus during the summer, maybe an internship or two.
Mhm.
It's going to have all that in a sheet of paper. Now, if you want to go after an accounting job role, you can then tailor it for accounting practices. If you want to go be a finance manager at, pick the company, let's say you want to be an entry level finance leader at Nike, not a bank, but a company like Nike. You want to be the ground floor of Nike's regional headquarters in the Southeast in Atlanta, and you want to be the on the ground, person, then that's where you got to target. You'll change your resume to really reflect that kind of experiences that you want to have. How
Mhm.
you build a brand versus building a bank. Instead of being an investment banker, you want to be about creating profitable growth of the new lineup of Nike whatever apparel. I'm making it up, but
Yeah.
you see how when you tailor a resume off of the base resume, you can now twist it based on which way you want to go.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. Um.
But I would encourage you as part of your research, again, between now and the end of the holidays, get on the LinkedIn, put up your basic profile, including your picture, including your interest at Clemson and moving to the finance and accounting communities and where you're going with that. Definitely apply to be part of the club starting in January for those clubs. Okay. Pick them off that you want to do now. Research
Yeah.
them, find out which ones have a passion you're interested in. It could be in the investment club, it could be a finance club, it could be a marketing club, whatever it is, get involved. Definitely do that. Because here's what's going to happen, Luke, when you start applying for internships, that now starts showing up on your resume. All those things start showing up
Yeah.
as, wow, Luke's not only a student, but he's doing all this other cool stuff that's business related.
Mhm.
And there you go. You start separating from all those competitors on the campus at Clemson or anywhere else in the Southeast who are just great students.
Yeah.
You want to be more than just a great student.
Hmm.
You want to be the best possible
Yeah.
leader of that new organization you're joining.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think you mentioned this earlier when it came to like education, but I don't know. What would you say the value is in like getting like say after I get my degree in like finance? What would you say the value is of getting like an MBA or like something like that
Yeah.
afterwards? What value would you say that that adds?
That would be terrific for you to do, particularly if you want to work for a brand-based company.
Hmm.
If you want to go to Wall Street, an MBA would be helpful but not critical if you want to do in the investment banking side, but that's for you to learn. You know, Instead of getting an MBA, I would get a CPA first.
Hmm.
Now, if you wanted to become a finance leader, working for a brand or running your own company someday or be an entrepreneur,
Hmm.
definitely an MBA would be helpful.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't have an MBA.
Uh,
I made the decision to grow my career within Procter and Gamble. My MBA was working at the world's biggest consumer products company.
mm,
And so for me, I learned and grew my career very rapidly there without an MBA
mm,
because I committed to learning and growing and developing my skills beyond what an MBA would do.
mm.
So mine was more on the job training
Yeah.
and then become eventually global head of sales for Bose. So you don't have to have an MBA,
Yeah.
but you have to make a commitment that you're going to be, studying and learning all the time
Mhm.
on all kinds of topics.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think this meeting's only giving us like 6 more minutes, so
Okay.
I'm not sure if it. Let's see. I think I've basically covered anything. If there's any questions like you want to ask or
No, I
anything,
want to make sure you got what you need. I know you're writing a paper and doing some summary of this, and I
um,
hope this is really helpful for you, Luke.
no, it's very helpful.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you get excited about it. And Luke, if you'd like to, catch up any more about this down the road, happy to do that. I'd love to be one of your first LinkedIn connections in the next couple of weeks. I know you
Yeah.
got exams to do, but send me a LinkedIn request. It's under Matt Lucas. I'm in
Mhm.
LinkedIn. You can look me up, and happy to do that. Just get started on this journey. And the last one I'd tell you, Luke, for you to keep considering is like you're doing with me right now.
Mhm.
This is what you call an informational interview. You need to do these with Clemson alumni as well
Mhm.
that are in the finance community starting next year.
Yeah.
And you should start connecting with even some seniors on campus who had an internship, maybe at Nike, and get to talk to somebody who had an internship in Clemson that you could say, tell me about that experience. Tell me what you learned and all that kind of stuff. You'd be amazed how many people are that could be in your network that would be in roles that you'd be interested in.
Mm. Yeah. That's definitely something I have to do. But
Yep, and it's hard to do. Breaking
Mhm.
through, like I'm sure Luke for this one was kind of nerve-wracking. Like I got to contact this guy, got to do this work. But this kind of conversation you have with me, you'd have with anybody else out there, and it will help you in your career for the future. So I'd really encourage you to keep networking.
All right. Yeah. Well, let's see if that's all. Thanks a lot for giving me your time. I know it's kind of
I'm
short notice, but
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. Do me a favor, send me a thank you note because every time you have an informational interview, you
yeah.
got to send a thank you note afterwards. So send me a thank you note when you get a chance this week.
All right.
It
Yeah.
sounds great. Well, good luck with everything, Luke, and best of luck as you get cranking on this. And hopefully, this kind of inspires you to take on some interesting paths.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Bye. I'll see you. Thank you.
All right, sounds great. Take care,
Yep.
Luke. Bye bye.
Yep.
Bye bye.
Bye.